Hello, and welcome back to another episode of BTV. I'm about to get stuck into some weeding here, as you can tell. I've already been at it, and I thought I'd take about 10 minutes out to chat about growth. As I've reflected on this and I've thought about what I could share on, I thought, yeah, let's do growth and something that we're all going through, yeah? As I reflect on these weeds, I've been fascinated and challenged as well, because I've been seeing these things just grow and grow, and they grow fast. And look, I'm a city boy most of my life, born and raised in Sydney City. This is the first time I've lived in a house, and I haven't had a garden, haven't tended to a garden. I worked as a landscaper for about 2 years, in between my skating and my art. That was about, the odd job that I had. And now that I've got this garden, I'm thinking, dang, what can I do to this thing that's simple enough for me to get my head around, that's not going to consume my time, because I want to get to creating other things. But in the midst of that, I've been seeing these things just grow like crazy. And I find it fascinating that you're able to pull these things out so easily as well. And they grow on anything. They'll find a little crack. They'll have a little taste of soil, and then they'll just start flourishing. And it made me think about growth and how we can apply certain areas of our life in order to get us to encourage us in growth, or cause us to, stay stunted or regress. And when I look at weeds, I look at our heart and our mind. Now, we're instructed as a creation to guard our hearts with all diligence, because out of it flow the issues of life. And the heart is like the garden. When we leave it unattended, when we're not guarding our heart, we're just allowing just any old random thing to be thrown into our life, distractions, strongholds, there's going to be weeds growing. And those things are going to get a firm hold of our life and just going to be, running amok. And it becomes a very, unsightly sort of thing to behold. And that's what I was noticing here. And now that I've been pulling these things out, I'm finding that they actually get pulled out quite easily. And I wanted to chat about growth and how we can tend to the garden of our life and be able to discern the weeds from the things that truly need to, bear fruit and flourish. I reflect on the parable of the wheat and the weeds. Jesus talked about there was a crop that was growing of wheat, and an enemy came and sowed weeds in amongst the wheat. And the servants were able to observe that there was these two things, there's a conflict of interests happening. And they went back to the boss and they told him what was going on. And they said, should we just tear out the weeds? And the owner was like, no, because in doing so, you might, destroy some of the wheat that's still, coming into fruition, or it's still growing. So he said, rather just wait. When the time's ready, when the wheat's ready, then what we'll do is we'll pull out the weeds, throw them into the furnace, and the wheat will be stored into the barns. Now, Jesus explained that parable in regards to the end of the age and ultimately bringing justice to this world that we live in that has good and evil. And the wheat is like the sons of God, or the children of God, and the weeds are the people that have no place with God, the sons of evil. And it caused me to think, wow, like in the midst of that growing, they're very similar in appearance. Some plants, some weeds look very similar to another type of plant. There's a similarity going on, and it made me think about the life that we live in, the people we mix with, and we all live amongst one another in a type of union. But we do protect, and we do protect ourselves, and we are weary of one another in many ways. We're a very sensitive creation. And in the midst of this life that we live in, it's wise to love one another, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because we don't exactly know what's going on in the heart of another person. We ought not to place complete judgment onto someone and saying, you're not a child of God, and you're damned to hell, and blah blah blah. Like, it's very unwise, because by doing such a thing, you're basically claiming yourself to be God and that judge. Now, we can definitely, discern who a true follower of Christ may be, and we can definitely discern who may not be walking with God. Maybe they're their own God, or they're following their own path, or they believe in something else. But we don't know exactly where they're going to end up, and we don't know where we're going to end up. Someone may say, "Oh yeah, you see many a Christian that claims to be walking with Christ, and a whole bunch of people may be thinking, look how righteous and amazing this person is," and then you hear about them falling from grace, and they've been living a double life, or they've been doing some hideous things. We see that throughout many different denominations, and it's like this massive hypocrisy, and it's very offensive to people, because people are ultimately wanting a leader and wanting to grow and look towards a leader so that they could grow rightfully. So the smart thing to do there is to realize that all people have fallen short of the glory of God except for one, and that's Christ. That he is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life. And therefore, no one goes to the Father or enters into glory unless they go through him. It's too obvious. It's way too obvious, whether it was Muhammad or Buddha, Lao Tzu, when I say Buddha, Siddhartha, or whether it was some other guru or whatever, they've all fallen short. If I was to talk to any human being, including myself, hey dude, have you ever lied? You ever stolen? If you just those two little things right there, they'd be guilty of them. Oh, maybe I stole a little thing. You're still stolen. You ever lied before? Yeah, I've lied. We've all fallen short, and we've all broken the perfect way of living. And we've all died. We all are dying. We're all going to die in our mortal bodies here, except for one. There's only one divine and true example. There's that perfect testimony of Christ. All you need to do, if you don't believe, is just look into it. If you don't believe, then show me your evidence for not believing. There's piles of evidence to show of the resurrection of Christ. Anyway, I don't want to go down that avenue, because we're here to talk about growth. But if that's what you're questioning, then I could just tell you, look, the evidence is there. Hence, look around at all the phenomenal minds. I just finished hearing about apparently the guy with the biggest IQ who now proclaims Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. I'm like, okay, that's great, but he's now entering into this journey as well. He's still someone who's growing and starting to learn about the way, the truth, and the life. And what he's growing into, what he's growing towards, is being someone who is loving. Truly loving, who's displaying the fruits of the Spirit, who's tending to the garden of his heart and pulling out the weeds of their life and watching the true fruit of the garden grow, which is, the 9 fruits of the Spirit, as we've talked about before. And when we look at weeds are like in our everyday walk, it's like the distractions, it's the sin, it's the strongholds of our mind. And I like to give that analogy of a car. When you enter into a car, it's been serviced, it's ready to go, you know how to drive, you get in, you put your destination, the GPS, and off you go. You're driving down the road, you're sticking to the signals, the laws, the rules, etc. You're changing lanes, you're looking in the rearview mirror, and you're getting towards your destination soundly. You're going about it the right way. Now, a stronghold of the mind, or let's say a stronghold of the mind could be like a past failure, something that's offended you in the past, or hurt that you've received in the past that you still live with today, an unforgiveness, a bitterness, a resentment, an excuse for you to continue wallowing and just being embittered. It's stopping you from, it's like a barrier that's stopping you from entering into a fresher pasture. That's a strong, like, it's a stronghold, right? So that would be, getting back to the analogy of the car, that's like you driving and continuously looking into your rearview mirror, or the other rearview mirrors, and it's like looking into that. What's going to happen as you're driving down? You're most likely going to either get into an accident, or you're going to be a very unpredictable driver on the road. Other people are going to be like, what's this person doing? Like, what? And if you look at that person, they're continuously looking into the rearview mirror of their life. And we all do it. Now, I've done it for many years. I've got many a reason to look into the rearview mirror of my life, and it's led me down a very detrimental and dark path, and it's stopped me from growing. Even in my outward circumstance, when everything looked like it was growing and flourishing really well, especially when I was skateboarding for a living, I had my sponsors, I had a lot of media coverage, I was in magazines and TV, it's very popular, I had a lot of attention from my friends, I had a lot of attention from women, and just popular, right? So, and I thought, people could look at my life and think, man, you're growing, you're flourishing, you're going off, you're on fire, dude. It's like, but deep in here, where the foundation, where it starts, because you've got to remember, at the foundation, if the soil isn't any good, things aren't going to flourish. Well, weeds will definitely flourish. Weeds don't need good soil. They'll just continue to flourish and grow. On a building, if the foundation is wrong, then the structure is ultimately going to be rickety. And no matter what you do to build over it, if the foundation's wrong, the whole thing's going to crumble. So, in regards to growth, you could be. I was in a position where things seemed very like cool on the outside, but dang, was I crumbling. There was no growth in here at the foundation. That's what I'm talking about in regards to growth, and in regards to the rearview mirror of your life. Being able to forgive. Why? How easy is it to forgive? Well, you need to realize that you have been forgiven of the sins and the things that you have done wrong unto others, and ultimately unto God, the one who created you and gave you the very life that you have. And you have not only neglected, but you have totally turned away and insulted and been harsh to his creation and done the wrong things. You too have been an enemy of God, yet he died for you while you were still a sinner. He paid the final cost on the cross. He personified himself on earth and became that true leader. Like I was mentioning leaders before, is like he became that true leader, the one who is of no sin, who is that personification of perfect humanity, hence being able to rescue you and pardon you for the things that you have done wrong. So he's forgiven you, hence you could easily forgive others. You have that within you if you have submitted and you truly believe that he, Christ, is your leader, your God, your number one, your rock of salvation. Now, that's where I know I can find the power to forgive people that have done wrong to me in my life. And I know, and I hope that others would be able to forgive me as well. Now, what does this have to do with growth? Well, simple. Because if I have unforgiveness in my life, that's like a weed that's flourishing and growing. It's going to stop me and hinder my growth. I'll be walking around with resentment, and it becomes a very distasteful thing to uphold and see. Now, I can guise it in many ways, but if I can't escape it, then it's going to grow and grow fast, man, because these things grow fast. That's what I've noticed. And so yeah, look, sin as well. Sin is like a weed in life that stops your growth. Now, I would say a very trusting thing to do, a very vulnerable thing to do, is to is to confess your sin. You know, there's a verse of scripture that says, confess your sin to one another, pray for one another so that you may be healed. So that you may be healed. Why? Because when you expose darkness into the light, it loses its power. You know, there's many negatives in your life, just like the old film cameras, you know, when it's like an enemy goes around, it's like the enemy will go around shooting these negatives and, you know, and in the hope to expose them and show them off to everyone. And everyone's like, yeah, look how wrong you are in doing this. But the power of light is so phenomenal. And it's like Christ comes into your life and exposes those negatives. Like he opened, you know, when you, like a roll of film, it's, you know, it's capturing all these moments and the negatives inside. But the moment you prematurely like open the canister up and expose all the light to it, all those negatives just, they get eradicated. They can't be exposed anymore. That's the power of forgiveness. The power of Christ in your life is able to do such a thing as well. And it does do such a thing. I've experienced, and talk to any other people out there that are following Christ, truly following Christ, they'll testify of the same thing as well. And see, that is what encourages growth, because you're able to start from a clearer slate. It's like hence the term being born again. When you're new and fresh, it's like, dang, you got a new lease of life. You're able to grow. When I entered into my new lease of life, I had no idea that I would be a owner of a home one day, that I would have a faithful wife, that I'd have 2 beautiful children that love God, and that I'd be a man of the community, that, you know, I wouldn't, I don't even swear that much anymore. Like I just don't swear. Not because it's a bad thing and I'm a Christian. No. Like there's a cleansing of the heart. There's a maturity. Now, yeah, I might still get angry and say something else in the same vein and spirit of like wanting to swear, because like, dang, like what the, you know, that's, you know, the same. But what happens here is that I'm a lot more sensitive and understanding to the clarity and the knowing of who God is as my Father, and that He'll get me through this very thing that I'm trying to curse and just be like wanting to damn. I'm like, no, this is in God's hands, man. I've got a Father that's far greater that can take care of this. I don't want to take care of it. And it stands to what it says in the scriptures: cast your cares unto God, for He cares for you. You know, I'd rather do that. I'd rather cast my care onto God because He cares for me. It's a smarter thing to do, you know. I'd rather submit myself unto God. I'd rather resist the devil and he'll flee, you know. So it's a wiser way to live, and it's a lot more releasing. And this is what a loving father wants for their child. And that's what he wants for you, the listener. Yeah, and in turn, that's what creates true growth. And you might think, well, how does this tend to my growth in the things that I want in my life? Well, hey, chill for a sec. You know, like I thought I was growing as well when it came to my external life, especially before the age of 25, you know, at the age of 25 and under, when I was young. And I thought, you know, growing my muscles made me look fitter and trimmer. I'd be more attractive. I used to think, you know, growing more accolades, getting more publicity, more tricks under my belt with my skateboarding, you know, that was growth. Now I've got really something strong to stand on. You know, I've got pride now because I've been growing what I've got. But as stated, man, if you don't have the true foundational areas of your character sound and true, then all that external growth is just going to crumble. It's like that foundation that we talked about before. Hence why Christ calls himself the rock, and he's known as the rock of salvation. You know, he's that rock that you build your house on. So therefore, growth is something that starts from within, because as you reflect on the things that you've got going on in your life, man, we want those things to grow. We want those things to flourish, don't they? If they're good and they pertain to life and they encourage one another, of course they should be growing. If you've got a talent, if you've got a gift, of course we all want to see it grow. We all want to see it flourish and encourage, because it's for the betterment of humanity and one another and for your life, right? But how much more if it's coming from a sound place in your heart, that you've been guarding and nurturing the garden of your heart with rightful living, with looking to the right leader in life. It's a good thing to look at other leaders, but uphold the true leader, uphold the true perfect man, the true perfect human, And in turn, you'll be able to discern and decipher what else is going on in your world. You'll know how to operate in the giftings and the callings that you have in the outside world. And you'll also be, newer things will be revealed to you as you step out in faith and you keep your eyes set on Him and walk in the light as He is in the light. In turn, you'll be growing from strength to strength and from glory to glory. And ultimately, not even death has a sting on you. Oh, death, where is your sting? Oh, death, where is your victory? Why? Because we look to the one who conquered sin and death and rose from the dead again. It's phenomenal that very spirit is what gets imparted into you to those who believe, and that spirit is what causes you to be able to take on the world with confidence and with love, not with pride and with look what I've done. No, look what He's done. Look what Christ has done. Look what God has done in giving me Christ, and in turn giving that spirit unto me, unto you, and in turn going out into the world and being the light in the darkness and being the salt of the earth. Epic news. That's where it's at. So, going to close it up. I do have to get into some gardening. This is, I think, the third take of saying all this because the camera angle was wrong, and on the other one I skipped a few little things that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, look, please share these, get them around. If you find that they're helpful, or if you've got it on your heart to share it to someone, please, it would really stoke a lot of people out, really. I'm going to keep on doing them anyway, because it's good. That's why basically, because it's good. And look, I got to get into some more of this gardening and this weed stuff. So I'd encourage you, get those weeds in your life, get rid of them, expose them for what they are. They're nothing. They get uprooted easily. Cast your cares onto the Lord, for He cares for you. And just, continue to flourish, eh? You've got such valuable things to offer in this world. And, you've got the chief gardener there that wants to tend to you and see you grow and flourish. And, man, it's that beautiful journey of faith. Surrender and grow. All right. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.